G'day, g'day, welcome. Guys, we're back on another episode. We've done it. I'm level 80. I've done a little bit of grinding, a little bit of pretty much just running dungeons flat out. That's this entire build. I have just been doing dungeon after dungeon after dungeon after dungeon. And now we've reached level 80. So level 70, guys, is what you need, or level 69, you can start the War Within expansion. So you can start the quest line that will get you to this main city. If you've obviously already done it, you can skip it, which is amazing. Which is really, really good. So we're level 80. I managed to do... where are we? Talents. So we got our talents here. Pretty much we're level 80, so we've maxed out pretty much everything. This is how I've had my talents set up. So when you get to level 70, guys, you get these things called hero talents, which is right in the middle here. These are essentially, you get another couple of new spells, and it improves on a lot of other spells as well. So there are two different types. You've got Wild Stalker and Keeper of the Grove. I like Keeper of the Grove because it is all about your little Grove Guardians here, which are really low cooldown, and you get 3 of them. They're very, very handy. I like them personally for raiding. You probably could do some sort of build with this, because you can see here Wild Growth, Regrowth, Efflorescence, Healing has a chance to cause symbiotic blooms to grow on target. So lots and lots of healing. So it does help. This I feel like would be more if you're trying to go for the like an OP build, you know, like overpowered, like you're doing damage and you're doing healing at the same time. This I feel like is very healing and very like over time, you know. So if you guys remember from the previous episodes, you got rejuvenation. So I would say that this build that we currently have is very, very much based around using this rejuvenation and having this on as many people as we humanly possibly can. So, which is pretty cool. So with the talents, obviously, guys, you've got your different ones here. We're obviously doing the healing one. Druids are very good, very versatile, because look, you got 2 different DPS builds, and you've got a tank build, and you've got a healing build, and both, I mean, at least the tank, the healer, and maybe the balance, they're all pretty OP, pretty good. They're very spell damage. And then obviously you got your feral, which is all about, you know, your cat form and that sort of stuff. So you can really play any sort of gameplay that you guys want to play. It's very versatile. Alrighty, so I thought while we're here, we haven't really gone through it, so I thought we'd go through it. So back at this talent build, guys, you come over here, click on the specialization. It gives you preferred weapons and primary stat. So this primary stat is obviously what they... essentially this build you want to focus on. So ours is intellect. So if you go over to your character info down here, intellect here increases magnitude of your attacks and abilities. So essentially it's going to boost everything that you do, which is obviously good for healing. We want to do more healing. We want to do lots of other things. Stamina is obviously your health. Armor is obviously damage reduction. This isn't going to be very high, not for a druid for healing, because we're wearing leather. It's not going to be very high, but that's okay, because we've got bear forms, we've got cat forms, we got things that we can do to reduce damage if we're getting smashed. And then obviously you got your mana regen, how much mana you regenerate out of combat. And then here are your enhancements. So these are the ones that you sort of want to focus in on when you get towards the end game, which we've hit level 80. So now all we're doing and focusing on is getting this item level up. This item level is crucial to get into the end game stuff, because when you go over to Group Finder and you go into your raid, so right now we can do these raids, which are from the last season. These are the new raids from the new season. So requires item level 606. And I know what you're thinking. You're like, okay, well, it's only 10, 10 item levels. It's not that much. I'll get that pretty easy. Getting item levels is incredibly difficult. Like if you've got one piece of gear that's like really low, that is going to put the whole rest of this build and really reduce your item level. So for me personally, I don't get wrapped up in what item gives me the most stats, not until I really start gearing in. You want to get this item level up as quick as you can so you can start doing these raids. Once you start doing these raids, that's when you can go, okay, I want to focus on versatility. So this increases damage and healing done, and then obviously gives you a percentage. So then you got mastery, your healing is increased for each of your restore over time on a target. So that is very good. That is sort of what the build we're kind of going for right now, because obviously I haven't really been focusing. We've got a lot of our points in critical strike. That is also very good. So when you cast a spell, a healing spell, damage spell, there's a chance for it to have a critical strike and heal a lot more than normal. So, which is very handy. So right now, so we've hit level 80, guys. We're in the new world. We've just hit War Within. I mean, even if you're level 70, you could probably do these things if you wanted to. I found personally for healing and tanks, you're just better off doing Group Finder because you will find dungeons so incredibly quick. Raids are a bit different, obviously, because they got to get a lot of people together. So season, obviously, this is season 1. Not as many people are going to be doing season 1 content because they would have absolutely smashed the living hell out of it. Season 2, I guarantee you, when you get up to being able to do these, it's going to be very, very quick queues. So with raids, you can do it once per wipe, or like once a week, essentially. So every week, daily quests get reset, your raids get reset. You can only loot bosses. So see how this is red? We can only loot bosses once per week or per wipe, however you want to say it. So for me personally, I just do dungeons. That's all I've been doing as character. I haven't done any quests. I've just been doing dungeons. Here you can see I've got a quest that I picked up. So these little icons, like this one, you got these little blue ones. They are weeklies or dailies. So those quests can be done. They do change every now and then. There might be, different quests every second rotation of a week. But essentially those blue quests are weeklies. So they're the quests that when you hit level 80, they're the quests that you really, really want to do because they will give you the best item that you currently can get. So if we click on this one, what we get as a reward, this is key to leveling up. A weekly cache containing upgrading gear, gold, more. So it gives you plenty of materials to upgrade your items, and it also gives you a chance at getting a really good item. So for example, I got this item from doing weeklies. So I got that, which is obviously really, really good. 629, not bad considering we're just getting up there. We're not very high gear or anything like that. So on this map as well, guys, you've probably seen, you've got stuff like this. You've got world quests, right? So to unlock world quests, you have to finish the campaign. So if you haven't finished the campaign, you will have to progress to a certain point, and then you can unlock world quests. But you can have a look there. It says complete 3 world quests in the Isle of Dawn, which is where we are. And then it will give us another go at getting some better gear. So that is crucial. It's you do all your world quests. So this only gives us Valor Stone. So that's what we use to upgrade gear. So obviously still very handy in doing. Like you should still try and do all your world quests. Very, very handy. This obviously gives you stuff. I've done a couple of quests. There's usually a lot more. I have been grinding at it a little bit just so I could show you guys. Also, they've got these things called delves or delving. So this one here, so you can see how this is a bountiful delve. And then if we go, where are we? Should be another one. There we are. That's a normal delve. So that will give you certain rewards. A bountiful delve. As you can see, we have 4 restored coffer keys. So the coffer keys are items you get from getting these caches. And the coffer key, what it does is essentially it's a pinnacle cache. So a delve is you doing it by yourself or with a group or with friends. You're essentially doing a dungeon. It's essentially what it is, but you can run it by yourself and you'll have like a little NPC to help you do the dungeon. So you have this little guy here. You have Brand follow you around in the dungeon. He can heal you. He can do some damage, do some really cool things like that. So very, very handy. But I cannot recommend enough doing these bountiful delves. They will give you, especially when you get higher up. So I'll just fly over there now, guys. So I'll see you when we get there. Alrighty, so we just got back here. So we are currently at this bountiful delve that I was talking about. So if you run up to this thing, if you do the campaign, you will do one of these delves as like a bit of a tutorial. So you don't have to stress too much, guys. But there's different tiers. Okay, so I obviously haven't done anything on this character. So recommended item level 597 to do this tier. So like I said, you can do it by yourself or you can do it with a group. It's completely up to you. But obviously here, chance to receive these cool little things. And being a bountiful delve, and we get a restored coffer key. So if you have coffer keys, I cannot recommend enough in doing these delves. They will give you, I've had some really, really good gear, some very good luck. And obviously, if we do tier 4, then we unlock tier 5. You do tier 5, you unlock tier 6. So if you get all the way down towards the end, the item level that you're going to get from these coffer keys is going to be insane. It's going to be probably, and almost most of the time, it's better than raid gear that you would get from doing a normal raid on Raid Finder. Like the gear can be absolutely insane. But the thing I like about the delves as well is you've got these modifiers, right? And what I mean by modifiers, so as you go up in the tier, they start putting modifiers to make the enemies tougher, spells do more damage, more health, you have less health or take more damage. Those modifiers get you very used to doing these types of dungeons and instances where it's a lot harder. You got to take your time with it. So when you come up to doing mythics are pretty much the same as delves, just a lot harder. So, you know, someone has got a key, you're either doing tier 1, tier 2, tier 3, tier 4, tier 5, all the way up to, I think, 21 or 25. It could be higher than that, which is insane. If you're doing a tier 20 mythic, the gear that you're going to get out of that is absolutely insane. You're going to have like some of the best gear in the game. It's insane. But this gets you ready for that. You know, it starts prepping you and it gives you a very good way because obviously when I said we're all about getting this item level. This item level has to be very, very high to be able to even start doing the raid, which is 606. So, you know, you do 606, but if you manage to get an item drop from this raid, the gear is going to be really, really good. Really, really good. So that's going to boost you even more. So this episode, I'm just trying to show you guys, get an understanding of like end game mechanics and that sort of stuff. And I mean, obviously there's different areas, so you know, I won't spoil the areas too much. Undermine, that's season 2, so that's where all this new stuff is. I haven't been there yet, but essentially, you know, you've got all these different areas, and all these areas have world quests. All of them. All of them have world quests. All of them have weeklies or dailies that you have to do once per week, and I recommend doing all of them. Absolutely all of them, because you want to get as many coffer keys for the delves that you can, and you need better items as well. So this is another bountiful delve here, guys. You know, we go to here. There's not any world quests here because I've done them all. That's how I've been able to get the gear. So you got another bountiful delve. So bountiful delves, they do change around every week. They'll, you know, a different delve, like these delves might be bountiful next wipe. Yeah, got over here more world quests. So you look at the world quests, you know, that gives us a radiant cache. That would be really, really good. That'll give us some really good items if we're lucky, or it'll just give us plenty of stuff to craft with, or upgrade our current items, which is very handy. But if you're doing these delves, you know, not everyone has a gazillion, you know, friends to play with or anything like that. So if you go into Group Finder here, guys, pre-made groups. You got questing, delves, dungeons, raids, legacy, or custom. So you can literally make a group. So if you're doing a delve, you go start a group and you go, oh, we're doing this one. We're going to do tier 4, this group. Right? And then people will find that if they're looking for pre-made groups, and you can accept applicants and they will join you and you guys can do this together. Or, you know, someone else might be listing something. So you go find group. You know, and groups will start popping up. Obviously, these delves aren't going to be as popular as the new area. So if you guys are just coming in, I highly recommend doing the new area because people are going to be finding these ones and doing all the new content for Season 2 a lot more than they'll be doing Season 1 content. But it's funnily enough as well, doing the group finder. So pre-made groups here. Go back. Dungeons, right? Find group. This is where people do mythics. So it's not very well, there's no real tutorials on how to do mythics. Like as in like in the game, they don't really show you how to do it. So pre-made groups, dungeons, +2 heals, right? So he's doing a tier 2 Mythic at the brewery, and it even tells you where it is. And they've got a tank, 3 DPS, and they're looking for a healer. So if I was to join that, I'd get the group straight away because I'm a healer. The downside is that with Mythics, people do look at your stats very, very often. So, you can get add-ons where if you join or apply to do a group, they will be able to tell how many Mythics you've done, what your Mythic rating is. So when you do a Mythic over here, you'll get a rating of how many Mythics you've done, how hard the Mythics were. You'll get a rating. People will see that rating when you go to apply for things. And this is where, we'll touch on this a bit more. Next episode, I'll show you guys all about the Mythics because we'll have to, we'll grind away, we'll get the good gear. But this is where it can get very toxic. Very, very toxic. If you join a group, if you have a bad tank or the group's just not doing well together, if you die, you can only die a certain amount of times, and then obviously you reset the dungeon and the person loses their key to the Mythic. So that can be very frustrating for people, but it can get very, very toxic, unfortunately. There are a lot of good people out there, but it can get very toxic. But these are just Mythics. So, +8, +9, you can look at that. So OCE, that's Oceanic. So if you're playing on an Oceanic server, try and join these ones because you will have a better connection and you won't lag everyone else out. So if you try and join one of these other ones, you'll probably be fine, but potentially, depending who they are and what internet they've got, the whole group might start lagging. Yeah, so I know it's a little bit of information overload, but I'm hoping it's making sense. I just have to sort of go through these things so you guys can understand what the end game is, what the end goal is. Once we hit level 80, which is a max cap at the moment, okay, well, what do I do now? I've done the campaign, season 2's out, and if you're looking for gear, guys, you can obviously do PvP as well. You can do all sorts of things in PvP. I won't get into that. We'll go into that in another video. You got rated PvP and that stuff. We're going for a PvE build. We're going to run some Mythics, we'll do some raids, and I'm just trying to show you guys how to be, in my opinion, be a good healer. You'll learn it as you go. If you've been doing dungeons this whole time, you'll have all these spells down pat. You really will have these spells down pat by now. And then doing raids is that next step up. You get on here, guys, and you can literally join a guild if you want. So joining any sort of guild, like you can see how many members are in there. Most people will send you an invite to a guild. I'm not currently in a guild, I'm like this character. But most guilds, social leveling, people that have been playing the game a long time, like the OG WoW players, are usually very helpful. You have a couple of those toxic people that, they want to take on dungeons by themselves and be the hero. Let them be the hero, guys. We're just here to heal, have a good time, play with the lads, play with your friends, and just have a good time. That's what we're here for. And here to get good gear as well. Level up at the same time. So with these guilds, if you've got a guild, just write it down. Hey, can anyone help me do this delve? Can anyone help me? And I guarantee you there'll be at least one person who'll go, yeah, man, I'll help you out. 100%. On my previous character, I had pretty much my guild pull me through the tier 12 delves because I couldn't do it. I wasn't a high enough gear level, and I ended up getting some really, really good gear from it. So if you've got that, if you don't have so many friends that that play this game, being part of a guild can be very, very helpful in definitely starting the end game content. So, and obviously with these raids as well, guys, this is just a normal raid. So if you join a group or even go group finder and go raids within, find group, people will run proper raids, which will be, 10 bosses long. They'll run it on Mythic, on Heroic, on different difficulties with different sort of things like moderators activated, which are obviously, and you can get some really, really, really good gear. Raid Finder just gives you a taste of it. So you're just running this dungeon on the basic difficulty, basic everything. It just gives you the idea, and you get to enjoy doing the raids, and you don't have to try and find a group. But if you want to look at doing these other raids, you can scroll through here and apply for this and apply for that, and you might find someone, yeah, I really like that. you know, let's do that raid again. You can still get some really good gear from doing this, especially if you find someone running like a, here you go, fresh heroic mythic. Sorry, fresh heroic dungeon. So that most of the people running heroics will be quite geared, which obviously would have to be in a raid. Yeah, so running these raids, you know, doing a heroic dungeon versus doing a heroic raid are two very different things. So the raid is obviously going to be a lot harder. There's a lot more people. There's a lot more boss mechanics. So you doing the heroic raids, you have to. I would recommend already doing that boss fight at least once on a normal, so you get the mechanics down, so you understand the boss fight, understand where you have to go, because it can get very confusing when you get into the raids and the bosses are very big, very, you know, they move around a lot, and you can get one-shotted very, very easily. Also, I should probably mention as well, so doing the world quest, doing dungeons, doing raids, even running mythics. If you go into here on the delve tab on our little group finder, delve, you've got something called here complete delves to earn weekly rewards. So weekly rewards, raids, dungeons, world quests. So every week when everything resets, you will get a reward from this vault depending on how much work you've done, essentially. So here next week when it resets, I'll be getting an item at 623 tier 1, which is amazing. That's actually really, really good, especially because we're so low. We need that. And this is how you're going to boost your item level even higher, is getting these items. So doing dungeons. So we complete a heroic to max level dungeon. This will increase the item level the harder the dungeon you do. So if you do like a level 5 mythic or even a level 1 mythic, level 2 mythic, that will increase from 623 to even higher. So maybe 630, 635, and also give you a chance at rolling on a better item. So these items are random. So you're guaranteed a 623, but you're not guaranteed on the item. It's going to be a random item depending on the difficulty you've done and how much you've done. So that's why I can't stress enough that doing world quests, doing these bountiful delves, doing stuff like this, trying to do this content, you know, at least once. You've got an entire week to do it. So this is where the grind really comes in, because you're not guaranteed to get the item that you want. You know, running mythics can be very difficult when you don't have a group to, you know, you're having to constantly go and to try and find a group in here. It can be very difficult because you might join 2 or 3 mythics and you might only be able to actually run 1 mythic depending on the group that you've got. So it can be very difficult. And right now, because we're such a low level, I wouldn't even attempt, doing a mythic at this low item level, purely because you know, being a healer, if I mess up in a mythic, that's gonna mess up everybody. Like you got to be healing. You know, being DPS in a mythic, you have a lot more wiggle room. You know, if you're not doing as much damage, you're fine. But as long as you're getting those heals, you'll survive and you'll still get through the dungeon. But as a tank, as a healer, if you're not geared, you know, you really are going to let the group down. And this is where, you know, being toxic comes into it, because, you know, you have people that will be healers and tanks, which is awesome, but they're just so under-geared, or they don't understand the dungeon they're doing enough. And especially when you get to those higher level mythics and people start losing their keys, that's when it can be really just, it's not fun. It's not fun for anyone. But that's why you're doing, you know, if you do get your item level high enough, you know, if you're really, really, really geared, you don't have to know what you're clicking. You know, your spells are going to be so much more powerful than normal that you can, you know, you will work it out. You'll be fine. So, you know, don't get discouraged in doing mythics. It's going to be as hard as you want to make it. But if you put the time in to really boost your gear level up, put the time in to get the better gear and really go hammer and tongs at it, I guarantee you guys, you will be probably some of the best healers in mythics or running dungeons at the moment, because there's a lot of just average stuff out there. And, you know, you don't have to be a superhero to be a healer or even a tank. You know, as long as you're, you know, nice and polite to people and you're just enjoying the game, you're getting through the dungeon. It's not a race. In mythics, there is a timer, but that timer is pretty long, guys. Like, you really have to be doing something very, very wrong to not complete the dungeon in the time allocated. Like, it's very, very easy. So that's pretty much my advice for this video. It's just, we're just talking about what to do for endgame. Where do you start? How do you start leveling up, getting the really good gear? I thought I'd also show you guys as well. So if you're doing the dungeons, the world quests, raids, getting all those like sweet caches that we were talking about, you will eventually get one of these. So you combine 2 of these with the Valor Stones, which you'll be picking up from doing world quests, and you'll create these things called crests, right? So these crests will be required if you're going to make your own gear. So if you don't have the profession to make it, you can go over here to crafting orders, and you can ask someone to make it for you. So we want to make, say we make a leather head, because we obviously can wear leather because we're druids. Cool, I want that. How much is that? So I'll click on that. These are all the materials that you have to get. You can buy all of these from the auction house. So it requires a spark. So the first one we get will guarantee item quality 593 or 606. So that depends on who makes it and the quality of these items that you buy. And obviously if you enchant it, then you get 632 to 645. So enchanting crests, it requires coming here and having a bunch of other quests that you can sort of exchange. Or you can get someone who has a enchanting to enchant it for you. So here you go. You can get these like enchanted crests. Click that, and it tells you what they need, and then they need the crest. So you can get these crests enchanted, and then get people to make you some gear. Let's go back to leather. Let's do shoulder. Get rid of that shoulder. Bang! Look at that. So that's some pretty good gear. So I did have a crest, and I got some gear made, which is this. So I chose this and got it made by this guy. Pretty good. 645. He did an amazing job at crafting it. So I got a very, very good level. But you simply just click that, and then the gear will pop up in your mailbox. So it's very, very easy. Very carefree. But getting those crests, I also highly recommend. So getting crests, doing your bountiful delves, doing all the weeklies, dailies that you can possibly do, and then obviously make sure you're doing all your raids as well, at least once a week, especially when you unlock these. Just do all of them. Even if these are a bit average, you might get a rare drop. You might get a really cool item. So I recommend doing all your raids, and then obviously Dungeon Finder. Eventually you'll unlock Heroics 606. Heroic dungeons will be really good, especially for gear, because that's something you can just sit there for hours and hours and hours and grind away at getting gear. With the raids, you're only going to get loot once. So once you loot a boss once, that's it. You can't loot it again. At least with dungeons, you can just constantly do it, which makes it very good. So make sure if you guys are doing all that, within probably 2 or even 4 wipes, I guarantee you'll be massively geared from where you started. Even if you're not getting the items that you want, you're still going to have some very good gear. You're going to start with a very good level, and then you can probably start doing some mythics. Level 1 mythics are a step up from running like a heroic dungeon. But if you get a good group and you're very well geared, you won't even notice it. You'll just think, oh, it's just like a normal dungeon, which is really good. That means you've got a good group, and it means you're geared and you understand all your spells enough that you're fine. Alrighty, so I also thought I'd quickly show you guys, before we end this episode, where the Great Vault is. So if you go on your map, Great Vault literally says right there, that's where it is. So to give you guys context, this is where the Delve Diver is, where we get all your quests. It's pretty much the main area. Also quickly show you guys this as well. I'm sure you guys know where this is, but I'll show you. In here. Okay, so I'll quickly show you guys this. This, you come here and you can exchange crests as well for different things, which is pretty cool. Here is item upgrades. So obviously you guys would have noticed, like this ring I showed you earlier, 3 out of 8. So this is where you use to upgrade item levels. So we can put that all the way to 645 if we had all these items. And you get all these items from doing heroics, dungeons, raids, doing quests, doing world quests, anything to do with the current season. This is where you're going to get all your stuff from. So we come out here. It's right next to the Great Vault. So this is the sort of main little area that everyone sort of chills in. Come up here, Council Treasury. You come in here. Okay, so this is your bank. You've got a bank here. Keep going all the way down here. Here's the Great Vault. So at the end of every week, when you actually have something that you can collect, you click on this, and then you'll be able to pick one of the rewards that you have. You can only pick one. So you have a look around. Okay, cool. I want that. Pick it. If you don't like that item, you can choose to get tokens. So these tokens of merits, and then you can use. So say you've done this a few times. You've got good gear. Haven't really got anything useful this time round. You can just take the 6 tokens that it will give you to get something else. You know, so you can get some crests that you need. You can get some stones that you need. You can get some different sort of things. You can get some gold if you need it, which you can obviously use for putting a socket in your gear. So, which is really handy. Then you can socket gems and that sort of cool stuff, and just really maximize the gear that you have. But that's only if you find nothing interesting in your Great Vault the week that you do. So, because you will have good weeks, you will have bad weeks, and you will have some really, really, really good weeks. It just sort of depends what you're doing. So, well, that's it for this episode, guys. Next episode, I think we'll get stuck into doing the mythics. I'll show you some raids, show you sort of how I would do them, and we'll just go through it and we'll talk through it. Hopefully you guys have enjoyed it. You found this series sort of helpful. But we'll see you in the next episode. Next episode will probably be the final episode. But hopefully it should be good. If you guys enjoyed this episode, like and subscribe as always, guys. And we'll see you in the next one.
Okay, bye.